Hello and welcome. I'm Michael Rath. I'd like to take you on a journey of discovery and intrigue, a journey into the wonderful world of Salvestrols. My introduction to the amazing story of Salvestrols began with a phone call only 4 weeks ago. It's hard to believe even now that it's only a matter of weeks since I first found out about them. I'd phoned up a gentleman over in New Zealand, John Appleton, who provides me with very specialised nutrients. In particular, I was getting from him some lipospheric vitamin C. This is a vitamin C form that we'll be talking about a little bit later, which is very effective in many conditions, including in giving amazing support to patients with cancer. Talking to John, as we do, from one person to another, and mentioning the people who I was helping with this particular product, and he said, "Michael, have you heard of Salvestrols?" This is when I mentioned to him that a couple of these people also had cancer problems. And I said, "Salvestrols? No, I haven't really." I said, "What the heck are they?" And anyway, told me a little bit about them. And then he sent me some material. He also referred me to David, and David is another distributor in New Zealand, and he actually supplies Salvestrol. So I spoke to David, and he also gave me some other information as well. But the information that both John and David gave me took me to my first steps onto this journey into the story of Salvestrols. And I still shake my head in wonder that in all my years of practice, and I started in practice back in acupuncture and Chinese medicine in Wollongong back in 1979, and then I studied nutritional medicine and so forth, as many practitioners do. You gain more and more knowledge over time, and I couldn't believe I hadn't heard of things like this from any other source. And interestingly enough, the work by two people whose names I'm going to mention in a second, their work was sort of made public back around about 2002, 2003, so it's been around for a long time. And the sad part is we haven't known about it. And there are other stories too that we don't know about, which I'll be talking about at subsequent seminars. This story wouldn't be told if it wasn't for the work, dedication, drive and commitment of two amazing scientists, Dr. Jerry Potter, a professor of medicinal chemistry, and Dr. Dan Burke, a professor of pharmacology. Professor Potter is a professor of medicinal chemistry in the School of Pharmacy at the Montfort University in Leicester. He is director of the Cancer Drug Discovery Group, and this is a group dedicated to the discovery and development of tumour-selective agents for the safe treatment of cancer, and that'd be a nice thing. He also theorised too that prodrugs are to be found in natural phytochemical compounds in things such as oranges. And a prodrug is actually a compound that has no effect on cells until it's converted by another compound within the cell. Professor Potter had his first experience with cancer at the tender age of 4. His aunt died of cancer, and this experience had a profound influence on his subsequent career. He has designed and synthesized selective drugs for breast and prostate cancer at the Institute of Cancer Research. His prostate cancer drug, abiraterone acetate, has recently been licensed as a last-line treatment for prostate cancer. In fact, this drug is actually an enzyme inhibitor rather than a chemotherapy agent per se. Cytochrome 17 is a human enzyme involved in both the androgen, testosterone and estrogen production. Abiraterone inhibits this enzyme by shutting off its production. And he's recently won his 3rd Royal Society of Chemistry Award for Industrial Innovation for his design and development of the abiraterone acetate. In fact, he's the only scientist to have won this award more than once. One thing to keep in mind too is that conventional anti-cancer agents are generally toxic. That is, they actually lack selectivity. Most are equally toxic to healthy cells as they are to cancerous cells. Some, in fact, are more toxic to healthy tissue than to the cancerous tissue, and still others are cancer-causing tumour promoters, while others are both carcinogenic and mutagenic, a situation that can lead to the induction of very highly aggressive secondary cancers. So that's a nice thing to know, the drug you're going to take. Further investigations into the health risks of occupational exposure to many cancer drugs have pointed to an increase of risk of cancer among healthcare professionals exposed to these drugs as well, and an increased incidence of spontaneous abortions and malformation of the offspring of oncology nurses. So, it's pretty scary stuff, the conventional cancer treatment and cancer drugs. Professor Potter's research has recently taken him into the search for natural anti-cancer agents that are selective. In other words, they attack the cancer cells rather than healthy cells. They're effective and without side effect. And it's this recent research that forms a foundation of what is being tagged by Jerry as the Salvestrol concept. The other scientist is Professor Dan Burke. Professor Burke is a professor of pharmaceutical metabolism. He's devoted his career to cancer. The causes of cancer, its detection, prevention and treatment have all been major components of his research. During the 1970s, Professor Burke invented a set of biochemical tests known as EROD assays, and in fact these assays are the premier method of quantifying the activity of the cytochrome enzymes, and Professor Burke is the father of this entire line of work. He served on the faculty at Aberdeen University Medical School for 20 years. While at Aberdeen he was offered a professorship, and he became recognised as an expert on the metabolism, toxicity and interaction of drugs and environmental chemicals. His research group at Aberdeen discovered that the cytochrome enzyme 1B1 was to be found in cancer cells but not in healthy cells. This was an amazing bit of research that turned up. This discovery actually stimulated new research on cancer detection, development of new drugs and anti-cancer vaccines that have gone worldwide. And the discovery also stimulated new research into cancer detection, development of new drugs. He then went on to De Montfort University and extended his expertise and skills in the area of metabolism, toxicity and interaction of natural compounds, and in particular the role of cytochrome P450 enzymes play in this whole process. So without the work of these two brilliant scientists, none of this would have happened. And the reason why I took a little